All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I just got done testing the whole DI thing. I'm trying to get my mic a little bit farther away from my face so you guys don't have to listen to me too much. So now we're into the boring part of the video. This part of the video series where I go through all the spells that Paladin has it's proving to be a little interesting because it's I have a lot to say for PvP, but I don't have a lot to say for PvE. So for now, we're going to stick with the whole PvE side of things because that's basically what's going on. But I will on each spell, I will at least briefly mention some of its more important applications in PvP, just so that this video is a little longer than it should be, right? I mean, that's how we like it around here. We like our videos a little longer than they should be. All right, cool. All right, so the first spell to talk about is Blessing of Light. We already talked about this in the previous video. The only real important thing about Blessing of Light is that it increases rank 1 Flash of Light by exactly 115, as well as 100% of your spell power, making rank 1 Flash of Light super powerful in raids. It will literally heal 2/3 of the amount that your max rank heals. And I can actually showcase that real quickly, but again, I talked about this in the previous video. So you can see we're healing for about 200 in current gear. And if I click Blessing of Light, it's going to go up exactly to about 220, 250. It'll go up by 115 exactly is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so we expect that. And if I compare that to the max rank, these are max ranks now, you can see in current gear, it's about 50%, right? But when you're in your full-on healing gear, these Flash of Lights will be 600s and your max ranks will be like 900s. So that's the most important thing about Blessing of Light. In PvP, this, of course, has some applications when you're like... specifically when you're tanking... it's very rare, but if you're like super and your enemy is like super I'm thinking about a shaman I fought one time. Sometimes with warlocks, the best thing to do is rather than sitting and blessing a wisdom and doing your thing, often the best thing to do is to use the last bits of your mana to put on Blessing of Light and then rank 1 spam your way to victory. Super rare in PvP, but it does happen. Also super effective against hunters, as long as they're and they can't trap you and stuff like that. Otherwise, wisdom is better. All right, cool. Moving on. Blessing of Wisdom does what it says in the tin. Absolutely amazing. Not good enough to warrant putting points into improved Blessing of Wisdom, but early on in Classic WoW's life cycle, improved Blessing of Wisdom is amazing. As your gear gets better, it's not all that awesome. Super good for fighting mages, super good for fighting hunters, specifically hunters. Why? Because you're going to spend a lot of time sitting in a damn sheep or sitting in an ice block, like an ice trap. Also pretty good against rogues for similar reasons, but, you know, if you have Blessing of Sanctuary is superior to Blessing of Wisdom under most of those circumstances, with the sole exception of Mage. Well, then again, if you explode to a Mage, I mean, who cares if you have mana or not? Cleanse does what it says in the tin. Not a lot to say about it in PvE. But in PvP, it is actually insane. This is one of the things that makes Paladin so damn good in PvP. And I'm talking like in Battlegrounds and stuff like that, because basically it's like no matter what kind of Paladin you are, you should be cleansing. So, for example, if you're in Warsong Gulch, and we have an entire video about this, basically it's like if you're frontline Paladin, so if you're a melee Paladin, you're up in the front line, your GCD should be used to cleanse. You are the cleansing bot. You are an auto-attacking Andy cleansing bot 9000. That is what your job is supposed to be. You're not supposed to have it be the back rank priests or the back rank healing paladins cleanse. If you're a healing paladin in a BG and there are other paladins around and you are forced to cleanse as the healing paladin, those other paladins are fucking it up. Okay, are we clear about that? It's not your job to cleanse, and it's even worse if the priest is doing dispels or using his dispels for cleansing. Why is this? Well, cleanse is 120 mana, and the priest's dispel is like 258. No, the healers need to be healing, and if the healers are healing, then you as the non-healing paladins are doing the cleansing. That's kind of the rule of how things work. The other reason why you should be cleansing as a paladin is you can't be spell locked. That is actually really important in PvP. Consecration, I probably should showcase this. Consecration has, that is not the spell we want right now. Consecration has really bad spell power ratio behind it. It's like 10% spell power ratio for the entire duration, so like a little over 2 spell power ratio per tick, regardless of which rank you're using. So we're going to go up to this guy, and we're going to use rank 1 real fast. You can see it's 18. We'll put Crusader on him, which is like an extra 220 damage currently, and it goes up to 28. And then if I use like max rank, you can see we're at 68, but if we let it Crusader fall off of this guy, boom, it should change to 59. Yeah. That's another thing that's kind of important in this game to at least mention or talk about, is the fact that there isn't really any snapshotting in Classic WoW. I ran into some people recently who asked me about snapshotting, and I'm like, it's not actually a thing. There are a couple things in the game that snapshot, but they're so rare, and I can't even think of them in the back of my head. So snapshotting just isn't really a thing in Classic World of Warcraft. Period. End of story. The game just updates like every 10th of a second, and you'll almost never see any kind of snapshotting. Batching is still a thing, but we'll talk about that when we talk about that. But basically, it means that as your spell power gets better and better and better, you're going to use lower and lower ranks of Consecration, to the point where eventually you just use rank 1 Consecration because it's 28 DPS compared to your rank 1, which isn't adding for the mana cost, is not adding all that much. This is the same in PvP, whether it's PvP, PvE. That's just how it is. So that's Consecration. Doesn't really do anything all that interesting. Other than that, nothing to really talk about. Divine Favor does what it says in the tin. Absolutely amazing. Where is my water? Exorcism. Yeah, it does what it says in the tin. Nothing all that amazing. Exorcism actually has pretty good spell power ratio behind it, which is kind of nice. Flash of Light, we already talked about this, how all your Flash of Lights have the same spell power ratio behind them, meaning that when you're in raid, you're going to be a rank 1 spammer, and then you're going to be a Holy Light spammer, or you're going to be a max rank. Already talked about that. No need to talk about the Greater Blessings. They last 15 minutes. Hammer of Wrath is interesting. Oh boy. Hammer of Wrath, more to talk about in PvP, not so much to talk about in PvE. It doesn't have very good spell power ratio behind it, but it has some interesting features in the sense that I can't really showcase it right here, but when the thing crits, and I don't think it uses, I could be wrong. I'm not sure if it uses spell crit or melee crit. But when this damn thing crits, it actually doubles up on the damage as if it was a melee attack, if that makes any sense to you. So if that spell that I just put into him had crit, let me think about this. Yeah, it crits for like 1400, which is like, what? So when Hammer of Wrath decides to crit people cease to exist. Really interesting. But the spell power ratio is actually quite bad. As you just saw there, this Paladin is running around with about 500 plus holy damage under those conditions, and it only went up by like 200. It's not the greatest spell power ratio in the world. Not much to really talk about. It's a little, in PvP, it's a little, at a 1 second cooldown, it's a little difficult to weave into your toolkit. It does have a 30-yard range, which means that a lot of times if you get your target down below 20% life, you can start doing weird things to them. Like you can actually range kite them and start just Hammer of Wrathing them to death. Hunters come to mind, rogues come to mind, stuff like that, which is really nice. So you might run up and wreck bomb them and just Hammer of Wrath them to death afterwards. The only other thing to talk about with Hammer of Wrath would be... No, we want this. We want engineering. I think it's the big one. The big one. Okay. So the big one is a bomb that stuns the target for 5 seconds. Its range is horrible. It's got like a 10-yard range. You have to stay stationary to use it. It's got a 3-second activation time. It's got a bunch of negatives, but it doesn't reset your auto attack timer. This thing has a bunch of negatives, but when you're trying to kill somebody, so for example, you run up, you hit them, you stun them for 6 seconds, you hit them like one more time, you use a big bomb to stun them again, you hit them again, because now they're in like another 2.5 seconds of stun, so they've been stunned for 6 seconds, they're another 2.5 seconds of stun. It doesn't sound like the extra second of stun that you get from using a big one is worth it in PvP until you realize that specifically what it is allowing you to do, that it does not allow you, that thorium grenades do not allow you to do, is get a Hammer of Wrath in. And it's as simple as that. So if you're trying to stun lock someone and kill them, the big one is usually the way to go for that extra second of effective stun. If you don't know, CCs are subject to diminishing returns, which means the first CC will have its full duration. The second, same type of CC, will have its duration halved. And then from there, it's half and half again. And then the fourth one is an immunity. One sec, let me pause the video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Where the heck were we? Yeah, we're talking about big one, Hammer of Wrath. I vaguely remember that. Let me get my water. Let me move my mic away from my head. Yeah. Okay, Holy Light, what to say about it? Not really much to say about it in PvP that I haven't talked about already. So there's two types of healing paladin. There's the one that stacks critical strike chance and just spams max rank Holy Lights into Oblivion. And if they start running low on mana, they'll spam rank 1s until their mana pot and other mana stuff comes off a cooldown. They'll use a major mana pot and they're right back to spamming max ranks again. The other type of paladin doesn't go critical strike chance. He instead goes plus healing and MP5. And he spams rank 1s into Oblivion, and if he's not rank 1ing, he is spamming Holy Lights. That's basically how that works. And he's basically the filler paladin in a raid, so when all the other healers are super and they're just waiting, like they have to wait out like the 20 to 30 seconds on their next major mana potion. The rank 1 paladin is still sitting at like 80% mana left in his bar, and he just kind of bridges that gap by just spamming max rank Holy Lights into the tank until everybody else can get their second mana potion in, if that makes any sense. One of these somewhere has it was trained at rank 20 and subsequently has full spell power ratio behind it. So it's not rank 3, I can already tell you that right now. Yeah. But watch rank 4 by comparison. Boom. Yeah, so rank 4 is the one who was trained at level 20, so he gets not only max spell power ratio, but he's benefiting from Blessing of Light. He's getting the plus 400 from Blessing of Light, and we can probably see that right now. So no Blessing of Light, he's like 564. And then I go Blessing of Light, and what is he at? He should be close to 1,000 if he's getting the full. Yeah, okay, cool. He is getting the full thing from Blessing of Light. So that's how that works. just so you're wondering if it's consistent that things that are trained at or above level 20, do they have full spell power ratio? The only thing to say about there's actually a number of things to say about Holy Light in PvP. All right, bear with me here. Off the top of my head, okay. Number one, if you are healing in a battleground, do never, ever, very rarely ever do you use Flash of Light. I'm like, never, ever, wait a minute, there's one scenario that we use Flash of Light. The only time you ever use Flash of Light, either on yourself or somebody else, is if they need the healing immediately, right? They just need that little tick of healing immediately. There have been times when I'm fighting like elemental shamans where I'm in the middle of casting a Holy Light, and I'm staring like a lightning, the shaman's casting a lightning bolt, and I will actually cancel my Holy Light and start up a Flash of Light because I know my Holy Light is not going to get there in time, and this Lightning Bolt has a really good chance of killing me. That is the only scenario where it is even remotely acceptable to cast a Flash of Light. The only other time you'd use a Flash of Light usually would be out of combat, and that's just to top yourself off. But that's the subject of this other point of conversation, which is Paladin basically needs 200 spell power. Hear me out on this. Paladin basically needs 200 spell power bonus to heal themselves to full, if that makes any sense. So, for example, let's say you're like a Ret Reckoning Paladin, or you're a Deep Ret Paladin pretending to be a warrior. You're one of those Paladins that's got a lot of stamina, but you don't have any real spell power ratio behind your Holy Light. What you'll find during the course of combat is you can only really afford to cast 2 Holy Lights at a time before you have to like run at people or do some other action. And you won't top yourself off with those 2 Holy Lights. You'll be sitting at about 90% health from those 2 Holy Lights consistently and going, damn. But basically what this means is you need around 100 spell power or about 200 spell power if you really want to knock off the RNG, because Holy Light has some base RNG behind it, to really top yourself off as a Paladin. And you'll really notice that you'll notice it when you're wearing Avengers gear that you really like the bonus healing on your Holy Lights, and you will super notice that you're lacking it if you step out of Avengers gear and you try to do other stuff. So you need a little bit of spell power just to get your Holy Lights rocking and rolling. Holy Shock. Holy Shock is terrible. It's got 43 spell power ratio behind it, but it has a 30-second cooldown. It doesn't heal you for anything more than your max rank. So, for example, nope. All right, so here's my max rank, right? 517, 5 something. Here's Holy Shock, 500, okay? They don't... Holy Shock is terrible for a number of reasons. When we get to Blessing of Protection, I'm going to shit all over Holy Shock. Okay, like we're going in deep on Holy Protection, so Holy Shock. It gets worse because Holy Shock, in the talent tree, you can either take Holy Shock or you can take Blessing of Sanctuary. And Blessing of Sanctuary is such a massive quality of life buff that you're usually better off taking Blessing of Sanctuary over Holy Shock. The only time you're better off taking a Holy Shock over Blessing of Sanctuary is under 2 conditions. One, if you're really trying to parse, that's just your thing. You want to parse. Or specifically, if you're on a PvP server, because it'll save your life. It basically counts as bonus HP under the vast majority of circumstances. Otherwise, it's not very good DPS. It's like 30 DPS at most. No, not even that. It's like 20, 30 DPS. It's pretty bad. Basically, it'll increase your DPS on your Paladin by like 10%. And it's like over Blessing of Sanctuary, like damn. Holy Shock is terrible. Don't take it. Holy Wrath. Holy Wrath is really hard to find a place to use it. But there are a select few places to use it. Mostly it's used because it's on demons. You have to bubble to use the thing though, which kind of sucks. Not much to really say about it. Lay on Hands is really, really good. If you're parsing, you will actually yourself and then lay on hands yourself just for the bonus mana. And I am not joking about this. So I'm going to attempt to myself as best as I can. And we'll see that. Purify, if I recall correctly, once you get Cleanse, you almost never use Purify. Just because they're the exact same mana cost, it's not really worth talking about. Come on. Okay, so we're completely I'm pretending I'm in a raid. I'm going to rank 1 Flash of Light. This is going to take a little while to Just bear with me here. And then we're going to LOH for the mana back. Okay, cool. We're completely Boom. We got 150 mana. I am not joking. If you're a serious parser, that is actually a thing that you do. I can't recall if I LOH somebody else, does it give me the mana or does it give them the mana? To their mana. Okay, yeah. So it restores the mana to whoever you're manaing. That's not ideal though. Like ideally, you would be LOHing like the tank or something, and you wouldn't need the mana. But once it'll, I've seen parsers like stand in fire specifically so that they hurt themselves, or they get themselves hurt just so that they can get the extra healing in on the raid from LOH and the mana back. It's stupid. So that is that. Ugh. What do I need to talk about? Redemption. Nothing to say here. Just does what it says in the tin. Oh, geez. Okay, we're gonna be here for a while talking about Seal of Light. Seal of Light and Seal of Wisdom have a 2/3 proc chance on both of their effects, regardless of weapon speed. So faster weapons are better. It'll also proc off of Seal of Command and stuff like that, right? Also proc on like Hand of Justice. It's not rocket science around here. It doesn't double proc on Seal of Righteousness, so that's a good thing to keep note of. But very quickly, when you get Seal of Wisdom, you start thinking to yourself that Seal of Wisdom is better, right? So 90 mana and 59 mana compared to like 94 and 61, right? And you'll do the math and you'll think to yourself while you're leveling or something like that, that I can convert mana into healing at a 2-to-1 ratio. Therefore, Seal of Wisdom is like twice as good as Seal of Light. That's actually not true for a number of reasons, and I'll explain why. So they're a lot closer than you think. Usually, Seal of Light, no, my bad. Seal of Wisdom is better if your gear is good. And then Seal of Light becomes better if your gear is bad. And I know that sounds insane, but just hear me out here for a second. So when you're using Seal of Light, what do I want to say here? Seal of Light, you don't actually have to stop and heal yourself. So if you're using Wisdom, you actually have to stop and heal yourself in order to get the more efficient mana to health conversion. And if we're in an AoE tanking scenario, the problem with that is when you're healing, you don't block, dodge, or parry anymore, right? So yeah, you might not be suffering any pushback depending upon what aura you're in, but your defenses have gone to crap, so you're getting the absolute shit kicked out of you while you're trying to get these stupid heals off. Seal of Light, on the other hand, and the other thing that you're missing is that you stop DPSing whatever target that you were DPSing in order to heal yourself. So you're losing a good bit of melee DPS while you're at it. But then again, if you actually watch my AoE tanking shenanigans with that, you'll know that when you're AoE tanking, like farming or doing anything, you actually want to do less damage, not more damage to the target you're hitting. And speed becomes, the speed of your weapon is the most valuable thing. That's why the level 33 Knightly Longsword that is 1.5 second speed becomes the weapon to use even at level 60. The only thing that's better for AoE tanking is Flurry Axe because of the extra proc chance. It ends up being slightly faster. And lastly is Edward the Odd. Edward the Odd is the king of AoE tanking just because when it procs, it does its thing. It heals you to full. But less, you don't want to do it. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say here is when you actually do the math on Seal of Light, it becomes a lot closer to Seal of Wisdom. There are also set bonuses that really help it. The Nax 2 set bonus that helps Seal of Light is absolutely not effing around if you do the math on the thing. It's actually kind of ridiculous. It'll be like 60 or 70 HPS. It's kind of no, I think it's only 40 HPS. I could be wrong. The 2 or 3 set bonus on tier 2 is also really, really good. All right, so one sec, I gotta pause the video. Roar! Oh, right, we're doing sure, but oh boy. All right. So just in case you guys actually want to talk on Discord or something about Paladin stuff, what the heck is my number? That's not where the number is. That's not where the number is. Come on. Come on. I am computer illiterate. I don't know what to tell you people. Where the hell is my number? Streamer mode enabled? What the? User settings? What is my number? Oh, why am I so suck at this? Help me. Hide user profile. Whatever. One second, let me pause the video. This is actually bothering me. I'm not joking. Doiness 5309. All right, Doiness 5309. See, Doiness 5309. Mm-hmm. Oh, I pressed P somewhere along the line, didn't I? Damn this thing, man. I hate that bug. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know when I pressed B. No. I don't know what causes it to pause, unpause, pause, unpause. It's really annoying. I know P does it. So, for example, if I press P right now, yeah, it also pauses the video. Just the sheer act of pressing P pauses the video. Oh, geez, I hate it. Where were we? We were about to get our Seal of Righteousness on. Now, I've said for years, Seal of Righteousness has 15% spell power ratio with one-hander, and it has 20% spell power ratio with two-hander. Make sure I can actually be recording here. Okay, cool. And but that's only for rank 3, and for every other rank, this mic away. And for every other rank, it has like 5% less spell power ratio. I actually got it wrong. I went and I re-looked at some old videos to see if Blizzard had actually changed it or if I've just been stupid for a long time. And it turns out I've actually been stupid for a long time because I could put on all the same gear that I remember wearing in those videos and like thunk people, and I did the exact same amount of damage. What it actually is that rank 3 Seal of Righteousness has 18% spell power ratio behind it, 18 and 2/3 spell power ratio behind it, regardless of weapon speed, and then all the other ranks are significantly lower than that. So, for example, talking rank 1, we'll just go through it real fast. My bad. Talking one-handed, we'll go through it real fast. So, one-handed, rank 1 has 13%, rank 2 has 13%, rank 3 has 18 and 2/3%, and then rank 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I think, only have 10%. Now, if we're talking about two-handers, I'm not really sure what Seal of Righteousness rank 1 has. It really doesn't matter with two-handers. I just tested it real fast, and we'll test it real fast here. I'll just showcase it. Rank 3 for two-handers has 20% spell power ratio, and then the max rank, which is the only one that you will ever use other than rank 3 for two-hander, has like 13% or 12% spell power. I think it's 13% spell power ratio for two-handers. Now, that's a lot of information just to say cycle through them all and figure out which one is best. Like, I'm not joking here. Okay, cool. So let's just showcase this one-handed style really fast. So we're going to start with rank 1. So you can see rank 1's doing like 63, 63. We'll switch over to rank 2. Now it's doing 64. Wow, now we're going to do rank 3. Now it's 94. Rank 4, 57. Rank 5, 60. Rank 6, 64. Rank 7, 68. Rank 8 is 71. Okay, cool. And let's see if I can get a Hammer of Wrath in here that crits so we can see the double. Yeah, see how it doubles up? Hammer of Wrath criticals are actually ×2. I don't know if it uses melee hit or not, or if it uses melee critical strike chance, but that is a thing. I imagine I could ask Drakova, and he would know about that. But the spell power ratio, it does ×2 critical damage. Anyways, so that was rank 1. Now let's switch over to a slower weapon. We're going to go to my Sulfur and Hammer that I've been holding on to for years, and I've never actually seen an eye drop. And that's why you don't see any PvP videos from me, because I have no good two-hander to actually do PvP videos. It would just be like some auto-attacking Andy, horrifying stupidity. And we're going to do it with two-handers now. Okay, cool. So two-handed is where stuff gets a little wonky. So we'll do rank 1. Hit him. Okay, 81. Rank 2. 81. Rank 3. 121. Just double check. 120. Okay. Rank 4. 92. Rank 5. 106. Rank whatever. 6, I think. 121. Next rank. Homie's going to die here before we can actually show the final rank. Get a judge in. And I actually have the max rank on my bars. And 100. Yeah, okay, cool. Now, this changes based upon your weapon speed, right? So if I go Brain Hacker, you'll notice that I'm doing 108 with max rank with Brain Hacker. But if I go rank 3 with Brain Hacker, I do more damage. And the reason for this is because with the two-handers, the base damage of SOR actually starts to matter. So it really depends on what weapon you're essentially using. Basically, you have to test it, right? So based upon your weapon speed of your weapon and your current spell power ratio, try to see if it's rank 3 Seal of Righteousness or rank 8 Seal of Righteousness that is basically doing better for you. The judgment damage on the seals is also a little interesting. You would think that rank, I think, and I could be wrong about this, most of them have almost all the same spell power ratios behind them. But we'll show judgment damage here real quick. So, okay, so keep in mind, we're at about 500 spell power, holy power on this Paladin. So I'll do max rank judge real quick. Okay, so that was like 438. That might actually be a high roll, but we shall see. Now, this is rank 3 being judged. If I recall correctly, it's like it's like 250 to 300 or something like that. Yeah. So you lose a little bit of the DPS if you're judging. I'm saying you have more DPS in the judge if you do the max rank. You have a little bit less DPS in the judge if you use rank 3 Seal of Righteousness. The reason why I have both of them on my bars is this is time on target Paladin, so Holy Reckoning. So the combat strategy is you jump on somebody, you wreck bomb them, and when I'm wreck bombing them, I'm using a slow two-hander, so I want to use the max rank seal. So I'll jump on someone, I will wreck bomb them, and then I immediately switch. Then depending on the situation, I'll either judge the damage into them and then immediately go into rank 3. Usually it's better to wreck bomb them with a max rank Seal of Righteousness, then to reseal Crusader, judge Crusader on them, and then to get into your rank 3 Seal of Righteousness and just grind them into pulp. using Flurry Axe or Edward the Odd or Manslayer, because Manslayer has 100% spell power ratio behind its heal. The only other thing to really note about it's gonna be it would be really hard to see, but Seal of Righteousness has a ×2 proc rate for its weapon. Oh god. There are some things that Seal of Righteousness ×2 procs, and there are other things that Seal of Righteousness does not ×2 proc. The general rule of thumb seems to be, more specifically, it's when things say stuff like on hit, as opposed to like damage or something like that. So this Dark Moon card here says, sometimes heal the bearer when damaging an enemy in melee. Okay, well, that's an interesting nebulous thing that it's trying to tell us. If you go over here to Frost Oil, it says, when applied to a melee weapon, chance on casting Frostbolt when the opponent when the opponent gets hit by it. Seal of Righteousness does not count as an extra auto attack, but it counts as an extra hit. So usually anything that's telling you that it's going to proc on hit will actually be triggered by Seal of Righteousness. If it's saying like damage or something like that, I can go. It's a very short list of things that are double procced by. Are we okay down there? It's a very short list of things that are double procced by Seal of Righteousness, to the point where I can literally go through the list. I'm just pointing out how the mechanics work, just in case you have any questions about this thing or that thing or some other thing that is going on. Yeah, she's fine. Okay, so for example, anything that is applied to a weapon. So for example, weapon procs. If your weapon comes with a weapon proc, Seal of Righteousness will ×2 it. If you put an enchant on your weapon, Seal of Righteousness will ×2 it. If you put Frost Oil or anything like that, S2R will ×2 it. I don't think it ×2 with a Sharpening Stone. There is a double-edged sword with this, and that is that it also ×2 procs any reflect damage. So when I'm fighting like Drakova in a duel, and he puts on Retribution Aura, I'm getting every auto attack I land into him, I'm getting Retribution Aura damage back ×2. It is not pretty. So there's that. The only other thing that, let me think, does it actually ×2 proc anything else? It won't ×2 proc Hand of Justice, to my knowledge, because I think that's on attack. Yeah, that's about it. Literally, that's about it. I literally just cycled through everything that it ×2 procs. The only thing that, let me think about this for a second. Oh, the only other thing of note about Seal of Righteousness is it causes ×2 pushback. So if there's a spellcaster casting a spell and you're thunking away at them with Flurry Axe and Seal of Righteousness on him, he is going to suffer maximum pushback. And if you don't know how pushback works, pushback is basically the first bit of pushback that you suffer from is a second, and then from there it is basically halved into oblivion. There is no immunity, it's just halved into oblivion, if that makes any sense. So we're going to go over here, we're going to aggro this guy, he's going to hit us, I'm going to start a heal, and it's like a full second of pushback. But basically, there's also some weird mechanics to pushback where if I start healing like right when he starts hitting me, so right now, damn it, right, come on, now, what the, oh right, I have the talents, I have 75% pushback immunity, derp. But basically, if this bar, let's say I'm casting and this bar goes like, how do I put this? The pushback can't go into the negative. So if I'm 0.5 seconds into casting a heal and I suffer pushback, I only suffer 0.5 seconds of pushback because it can't go into the negative. So even though it can give me a second of pushback, it'll only give 0.5 seconds of pushback. This is one of the reasons why Flurry Axe with Seal of Righteousness, this is more PvP stuff, But this is one of the reasons why Seal of Righteousness with really fast one-handers is absolutely terrifying for pushback purposes, because it'll × 2 proc it, which means you can virtually guarantee that the moment you hit the spellcaster, even if they have like 70% immunity, they're going to suffer pushback all the way back to 0, and then they're just going to keep suffering pushback. I cannot count the number of times when I've been fighting a warlock, for example. They're trying to cast fear on you, and they're super used to like suffering only a certain amount of pushback when they're trying to cast fear, that they feel like the fear should go through, and then they start moving again. They like cancel the fear, and they're like, oh shit, it didn't go through, what the fuck? And the WTF on their end is that Seal of Righteousness causes ×2 pushback, and they're just not used to it. So they think they're going to complete the spell. It's like at 90%. They're like, okay, this thing is totally going through regardless of pushback. And then it just double pushes them back, and it's just really good. Don't know how to describe it. Really, really good. So Seal of Righteousness, absolutely amazing. Don't know what to tell you guys about that. Lots to say about Seal of Righteousness. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Absolutely amazing. Seal of Wisdom, we kind of talked about this a little bit with Seal of Light. Not too terribly much to talk about here. Mainly used for AoE tanking and or AoE farming and stuff. The only thing to really talk about from a PvP perspective is there are certain matchups where you actually use Seal of Wisdom. 1/3 proc chance. No, 2/3 proc chance on both of the things. Blah, 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 blah. Almost always, when you cast the seal, you want to make one auto attack before you judge the seal. If you can time that or do anything with that. Summon Warhorse. I actually have something to say about Summon Warhorse, but let me pause the video here real fast. Oh my goodness, this video is this video is already 40 minutes. Jesus. Oh well, whatever. We'll keep at it. Summoning Warhorses, either the epic one or the normal one. It costs mana and it counts as a spell, which means you suffer. It messes with your spirit tick regeneration. You almost never see PvPers using Summoning Warhorse, either the epic or the normal one, for this reason. When we see people on epic mounts, all we can think to ourselves, or Summoning Warhorse mounts, all we can think to themselves is they just like the visuals. Most PvPers will just have an Alterac battle ram like you see here. Is what it is, right? Turn Undead, absolutely amazing. Doesn't sound super useful but in PvE it's actually really good. But in PvP it's also really good because the damn skeleton summons are all over the place, and you're one of the only people who can actually use Turn Undead on them, which is actually pretty cool. All right, sweet. So we're not out of the holy tree, thank God. Blessing of Freedom, absolutely amazing. Not a lot to say about it here. It will remove all kinds of physical immunity stuff, which is really good. Why do I get the feeling that you're killing Alliance, my dude? Whatever. Yeah, nothing really to say about it. It does what it says in the tin. I can't think of anything unique or interesting about Blessing of Freedom, to be perfectly honest with you, either in PvP or PvE. The only real thing of note is it has the same animation on the feet as Free Action Potion does, which can be a thing, right? Hard to see the animation in the middle of a giant battle, though. It can be purged off, so you got to be careful with that. For PvP purposes, usually what you're doing, or we are actually, what are we doing here, homie? All right, I'm gonna keep him targeted just in case he starts targeting allies or something. I got a funny suspicion here. Blessing of Freedom, what to say about it? There was something to say about it. Oh, yeah, if you're doing PvP Battlegrounds, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You like freedom one warrior, and you'll spam cleanse another warrior, and spam cleansing is just as valuable as freedoming the vast majority of the time. Oh, God, Blessing and Protection. I actually got some things to say about Blessing and Protection. Let me just lean back in my chair. We're going to be here a while. Blessing and Protection is absolutely amazing in PvE. Let me tell you how to use it in PvE. Okay. Um, if you're doing any kind of AoE tanking or anything, usually, like if you're in a really hard fight, you'll want to bop first, because it'll usually have the talents to make it on a 3-minute cooldown. So you bop first, and then you bandage, and then you wait out the minute. You'll heal yourself in combat, kind of a thing, and then you'll bubble. And because you can usually get to your bubble, and when your bubble wears off, there's only like a minute 40 seconds or less than a minute 40 seconds before you bop again on its 3-minute cooldown, or less. Yeah, so bop is absolutely amazing. In raids, bops save lives. Now, remember I said that I was going to shit all over Holy Shock when we got to Blessing and Protection. Well, right now we're at Blessing and Protection. Here's why Holy Shock sucks compared to Blessing and Protection. Whatever the hell is about to kill somebody that Holy Shock thinks it's going to do something about, Blessing and Protection is almost always better. So, for example, that rogue who pulls aggro who's about to die that I talked about in a previous video, bop him. That warrior who pulled aggro, bop him. But here's where we get a little controversial. If your main tank or your off tank in your raid ever falls to 10% life or below, just bop him. Don't even think about it. Like, cancel your heal, do whatever the hell you have to do, just bop your tank immediately. Now, your bop should be followed up by re-blessing him with something else. So basically it means you're giving the tank like 1.5 seconds of physical immunity before you remove it your own damn self. So that is one important feature about bop. So for example, if I bop myself and then I spam might on myself, bop is gone, right? And that's basically what you do to your main tank. You bop him and then you remove bop. And what'll end up happening is, now you might think to yourself, this could wipe a raid or cause some people to get angry or something like that. But what usually happens is you bop the tank. This also comes into play on other fights like Fire Maw. Fire Maw is a... We'll talk about Fire Maw and like... what's the other one? Damn it. Nefarian. Okay, let's talk about Fire Maw and Nefarian and bopping your tanks there. So, usually you want 2 tanks on Fire Maw because of Wind Shear, and Wind Shear is basically an ability that like lowers the aggro of the tank when it's used by, I think it's like 25% or maybe more, I forget. So usually there'll be an off tank that runs in, tanks Fire Maw, eats the Wind Fury, or not the Wind Fury, the lowering aggro ability, and then the other tank taunts back, and you're good to go. And Fire Maw can start having problems if the off tank's taunt gets resisted and their Mocking Blow misses, dodges, parries, it shouldn't miss, and or is resisted, right? Like he just can't do his damn job. Well, if you realize that he can't do his damn job and you just bop the MT, the off tank will immediately have aggro, hopefully, because he's the highest aggro guy in the raid other than anybody else. That sometimes it goes bad. Now let me talk about when it goes bad. So we'll talk about Nefarian, right? So sometimes Nefarian will breathe on your guy and the breath will crit, and next thing you know, your tank is like 5% life. Just bop him. I'm not joking. Just bop him. Don't wait for heals. Don't wait for this. Don't wait to see what happens. Don't stand there with your thumb up your butt. Just bop your main tank. The worst case scenario, I end up bopping a lot on Onyxia, believe it or not. The main tank on Onyxia. Worst case scenario, what happens is Nefarian spins around and breaths all over your raid. Now I'm going to tell you, or the dragon or whatever spins around and like breaths all over your raid. Alex Straza comes to mind as well, the second boss in Blackwing Lair. That's another one where you might end up bopping the tank. Now I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. If your tank is suddenly at or below 10% life and the mob still has breath available, you have bigger problems. with your raid than the fact that you're about to kill your raid with bop. Okay, that is a tank. What it basically means is if the breath is going to kill your raid because you bop the tank was going to die anyway from the breath, and then the raid would have wiped anyways, right? It's a raid wipe one way or the other. So even if it goes horribly wrong and your entire team gets breathed out of existence, the tank would have died to the breath anyways, and then the raid would have wiped anyways. So it's a raid wipe one way or the other. Usually what happens, however, is that the tank gets breathed on, and because it's magic damage, he'll like drop super low in health. You'll bop him. The next highest DPS guy is going to be a Fury Warrior or a Rogue. The Fury Warrior or the Rogue will just die instantaneously, but then the tank will start catching heals, and then you can remove it with another blessing, and voila, you've saved the raid at the expense of one at your highest DPSer, basically. It's basically, you're using it kind of like a divine intervention to save the raid. Except rather than you dying, it ends up being the highest, ends up being somebody else who sacrifices their life. If you're smart, though, what ends up happening is you talk to the raid about under what conditions you're going to bop the tank. You make it abundantly clear to your raid that if the tank drops below 10% life, you will bop him at all times. And what ends up happening if you make it very clear is you'll bop the rogue or the Fury Warrior will see the tank drop below 10% life. They know the bop is about to happen. They know they know their aggro on the chart. They know that the boss is about to spin around and give them their full attention, and they just do things to counter this, if that makes sense. Like, I've seen Fury Warriors get into shield wall because they know what the fuck is about to happen. They know you're about to bop the MT. They know they're about to be the primary source of fuck you, and they just act accordingly. I really see it on Nefarian a lot because the rogues are the rogues have their evasion on a hair trigger already due to rogue class call, because rogue class call with Nefarian, it's going to teleport the rogue in front of Nefarian, and if they're not super quick on evasion, they'll get one-shotted by Nefarian. So they have evasion on like a hair trigger already. So what ends up happening with them is if you bop the tank and he spins around, Nefarian spins around, the rogues usually survive because they just hit evasion immediately, which is pretty cool. But it means that you can actually save raids with Blessing of Protection. It is so much better to save the raid that way using Blessing of Protection than Holy Shock, for example, or to save people during mob fights with Holy Shock. Now, in theory, LOH is better. You're like, why the hell am I bopping my main tank when I could just LOH him to full? Now, what are we doing out here, boys? So he's trying to kill him. So yeah. So my theory here is that our paladin friend is being a jerk, and we should let him die. So that should be interesting. Get him! Cool. Yeah, that's funny. Let me go res him real fast. That was actually pretty funny. Whee! What are we doing here, homie? Bro, you lost to a warrior. Like, what is happening? Alright, he should be, play nice, dude. Lol. What was I talking about? Yeah, so, bop really good. Alright, so in theory, one of the paladins should be just LOHing the MT under those circumstances. But here's why that's a bad theory. So, that is basically a terrible, terrible theory for a number of reasons. The first reason it's a bad theory is, I would point out that bop is still really good if we don't have bosses, right? Like it saves lives and it saves buffs and it saves consumables. If there are no if outside of boss fights, number one. But number two, in a boss fight, if you're in a raid where you have to even worry about the tank potentially dropping below 10% life, there is no fucking way that it's very unlikely that you're also in a raid that can be well coordinated as to which fucking paladin under those circumstances should be LOHing here, if that makes any sense, right? So at a top tier raid, you wouldn't do the bopping thing. Usually, you'd have a paladin who's going to be like, hey, if shit goes south, I'm going to LOH him, right? But also in a top tier raid, the tank's never really going to find himself in that scenario. So it's like potato patata, right? But this is advice for general people. Just bop the damn tank. Don't even think about it. Don't LOH him. Don't do any of that nonsense. Just bop him. And the reason for that is because another way that the raid wipes under those circumstances is three of your paladins go, oh shit, and they all LOH the tank, like immediately. Or you have like 3 parsers who are a little and the tank drops, because usually if they are the tank, that's one of the reasons why the tank is low life, right? Like you have 3 parsing paladins in your raid, and they're just waiting for the tank to get low life so they can LOH him and get, like, you know, all the better parse. And it's just stupid. Just bop him. I don't know what to tell you. Just bop him. So yeah, basically I'm saying if your raid is shit enough for this to be a problem, where this becomes a thing, yeah, just LOH is not going to save you. All right, cool. Let's talk about Blessing of Sacrifice. Nothing to say about Blessing of Sacrifice in PvE all that much, even though if you have extra paladins in your raid, Blessing of Sacrifice becomes a thing, but nobody ever really thinks about it, right? I am one of the paladins who actually, I'm not, that would be a lie. I'm not even a paladin who thinks about it. Like, I'll be in a raid, and, well, usually I have, the reason why I don't think about it is, I'm usually the only paladin with Blessing of Sanctuary. So if we have too many paladins, if we got like 5 paladins or some shit, I just become by default the Blessing of Sanctuary paladin, if that makes any sense. Oh shit, here we go. Round 2, baby. Alright, one sec. What's up? What are we doing? Okay, go get him. Get him. Yeah, I'm not interfering. He shouldn't win. Okay, we got the bubble. Okay. Yeah, I'll respect the 1v1. I'll respect the 1v1. Anyways, yeah, if you have too many paladins, you should be using Blessing of... Nope, respect the 1v1, boys. Respect the 1v1. Don't do it. He's got whirlwind axe, bro. There's no fucking way you live. Damn it. Yeah, I pressed P somewhere, didn't I? Fuck. Alright, whatever. Paladin lost. That's all you need to know. I managed to get them to respect the 1v1, so that's nice. Yep, Paladin. He's got whirlwind axe. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? Yeah, anyways, we're talking about Blessing of Sacrifice. You can use it in raids if there's an extra paladin. In PvP, this thing is actually ridiculous. You should put Blessing of Sacrifice on everything and its dog while you're in PvP. You don't even notice the HP loss. It's actually kind of ridiculous. Drakova was even talking about this. He was like, I've started using max rank Blessing of Sacrifice because I don't even notice the HP loss. I'm like, what are you, a fucking jackass? And the answer is yes. He's been using rank 1 because he doesn't want to take the extra damage and it costs less mana. Like, duh, Pally time. Like, fuck off. What is this? Like, your autism levels are over 9,000. Like, what the hell? But yeah, it gets to the point where if you're healing in BGs, you don't even Blessing. It's like Blessing of Freedom, Blessing of Protection and Blessing of Sacrifice are the only thing anybody ever gets. And they get mad at you until you're actually, you know, healing them as opposed to CC. And then they stop bitching. So it's pretty funny. Blessing of Salvation does what it says in the tin. Put it on everything except for the tanks. But usually the tanks have macros into their abilities that'll automatically remove shit. So, for example, it's not uncommon for tanks to like download macros off of the internet or the web to have their abilities, and just built into the macros, they'll cancel any annoying type of shit that's not supposed to be on them just from the sheer act of using the macro. And usually that'll cancel things like Blessing of Salvation, that'll cancel things like Blessing of Protection, that'll cancel things like Divine Intervention, that'll cancel things of that nature that can screw them over. So sometimes I'll like bop the MT, and the MT will very quickly remove bop his own damn self, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Usually if it gets them killed, they will... we have a little chat about it, and basically what happens is I tell them, hey, if you're going to fall below 10% life, a Blessing of Protection will be used on you, so just be careful. Just don't hit the ability that removes Blessing of Protection, right? Just realize that this is what's about to happen, and just chill on your abilities for a second, and, you know, go from there. Concentration Aura does what it says in the tin. Absolutely amazing in PvP. Not much to talk about in PvE. Devotion Aura, we talked about how amazing armor is, how it actually does not have any diminishing returns, and every 550 points of armor is actually plus 10% effective HP. All right, cool. It's an amazing aura. While you are leveling, if you are single targets, you're almost always using... Devotion Aura, if... Rule of thumb is if you're two-handed, you're using Devotion Aura. If you're one-handed, you can afford to use some other auras. But even as a two-hander, Devotion Aura is the way to go. But that's more of a PvP kind of a thing. Divine Intervention, we just made a video on this. Divine Intervention does what it says in the tin. It can be canceled off of you. But it also resets aggro of the target to 0. So, for example, in that, again, I made a video, that Nax raid where the guy managed to kill the hardcore Nax raid, if he had been Divine Intervention at almost any point during that whole event, it would have saved the raid. Even if he canceled it off of him super fast, his aggro would have been reset to 0, which means he would need +1 taunt, and that's a problem. So super important thing in hardcore to remember that Divine Intervention can actually save raids from malicious tanks and other people, but it will cost you your life. So if you want to be the most beloved level 1 in all of Classic WoW Hardcore, remember that, and you will save raids. You will save lives. Divine Protection. Anything to talk about here? We don't use Divine Protection. We use Divine Shield. Not much to talk about with Divine Shield. It does what it says on the tin. There are some things to talk about in PvP, but they're not really worth talking about in PvP. Nothing all that interesting to really talk about. Divine Shield just does what it says in the tin. We talked about resistances already in a previous video. For some reason, if you're watching this one and not watching the other one, it is at level 60. It's 10% resistance for every 40 resistance that you have at level 60. And there are no diminishing returns. So if you have 200 fire resist, you have 50% damage reduction. Okay, we clear about that? Cool. But there's also some weird crap that goes on between like fire resist and frost resist. So fire resist, for example, once you start getting any kind of resistance on your paladin or your character in general, it never 0% resists, and it never 100% resists. It's always 25%, 50%, or 75%. So, for example, if you had 200 fire resist and you sat there and let a fire mage like empty his entire toolkit into you, what you'll notice is that the fire spells are 25% of the time being 25% resisted, and 25% of the time they're being 75% resisted, and then 50% of the time they are being 50% resisted with no 0% and no 100%. Frost resist is the complete opposite of fire. It's binary, which means it's either 100% resisted or it's 0% resisted, basically like all the CC spells. Those are the only two oddballs as far as resistances are concerned. Hammer of Justice, nothing really to talk about here. It does what it says in the tin. I don't know what the GCD of Hammer of Justice is. I couldn't tell you if it's 1 second or if it's 1.5 seconds. Yeah, he managed to hit me. What the? Despite the... Let me think about this. If it was 1 second, he wouldn't hit me. I think it's 1.5 seconds. The thing about Hammer of Justice, I think, though, is it has a really long animation. Like it starts its cooldown before it starts its cooldown when you click the button, but there's like an animation delay before it goes off, and that, in essence, means that it is effectively like a little closer to a 1 second GCD in effect. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, but I could be wrong about that. I have no idea. I just know it seems to have a less than a 1.5 second GCD, but I might be insane. So anyways, moving on. Seal of Righteous Fury, not Seal of Righteous Fury, just Righteous Fury in general, does what it says in the tin. Nothing all that interesting to see here or talk about. Seal of Justice, oh dear God. Okay, Seal of Justice, if I recall correctly, it has a 10% chance to proc per 1 second of swing time. So if you're swinging a 4-second speed weapon, it would have a 40% chance to proc per hit, and if you were swinging a 1-second speed weapon, it would have a 10-second proc chance. So, for example, my Hikari Manslayer here with Seal of Righteousness, or Seal of Justice, is going to have a 20% chance to proc the stun per auto attack. So I might have just gotten really lucky there. We shall see. Yep, so you'll see it's just not proccing, not proccing, not proccing. It's like 20% chance per hit. Seal of Justice stuns also have their own DR. So let's get one more stun in here. Okay, now I'll 6-second stun him. And you can see he's going to eat this 6-second stun on full duration. So Seal of Justice has DR. It has diminishing returns. That's what DR means. 50%, 50% immunity, immunity, immunity. But it's its own DR chain cycle. So you can use Seal of Justice to 2-second stun somebody, and then you can Hammer of Justice them for 6 seconds, and they'll eat the full 6-second stun. It's on its own separate DR. At this point, we basically need to talk about Seal Twisting. It is possible to Seal Twist certain spells. Normally, Seal Twisting, because it's very mana intensive, will be either rank 1 Seal of Command twisted with rank 3 Seal of Righteousness, and you can do that in a Wreck Bomb. So I don't have Reckoning right now on this Paladin, but if I have Wreck Bomb, you'll see Dukrova do this sometimes. You'll walk up to somebody with, usually it's your max rank Seal of Righteousness. So you'll have rank 8 Seal of Righteousness equipped on your weapon. You'll walk up to somebody. You'll click your Wreck Bomb into them. And at the same time of clicking your Wreck Bomb into them, you'll activate Seal of Command. Or possibly it's in the reverse. You'll activate Seal of Command and you'll immediately click the target with to attack them. And the spells will batch together. Meaning that you'll have a Wreck Bomb that gets all the Seal of Righteousness damage, and it'll also get the effects of Seal of Command. So that's the one twist that happens. The other twist that is very common when you don't have Seal of Command is to twist Seal of Justice, particularly to stop heals, far more specifically. But you can also twist Justice in with Seal of Righteousness. Really a little hard for me to show this, because I need a nice slow weapon that's not going to do anything special, and I don't have slow weapons that do things that aren't special. Like Jeklik's Crusher here is going to do special things. Brain Hacker here is going to do special things. But Brain Hacker has the lowest proc chance possible. So I will attempt to showcase a Seal of Righteousness into a Seal of Justice twist here real fast. Let's get these on our bars kind of properly. Okay, cool. So I'm going to walk up to this guy with Seal of Justice on. And right as I click hit him, I'm going to twist into Seal of Righteousness rank 3. So, all right, so Seal of Righteousness rank 3. And do we stun him? No. Okay, twist back over. Okay, cool. Hit him. That's the wrong ability. Damn. I'm not good at this weapon speed. Jesus. I'm not very good at twisting. Stop attacking him. Okay, so I need to... What do I need to do here? I need to hit him and twist at the same time, right? Or do I twist and hit? No, that did not stun him. Okay, cool. Twist and hit. Did not stun him. All right, try it again. Hey. Twist and hit. What the hell was... Oh, that was Brain Hacker procking. Okay, go away. Twist and hit. Ooh, that did nothing. Hit him and twist. Damn. It's so much easier with Reckoning charges because of how Reckoning charges will do the instant attack thing. Hit him and twist. Yeah, I'm probably having... I think I need to delay it for a second. Okay, so we're going to click. Boom. No, did we get it? Fuck, no, we didn't get it. It's so much easier with Reckoning. All right. Attack, twist. Damn. Attack, twist. Nope. Stop it. Stop it. Stop that. Okay. Attack, twist. Damn it, I can't do it. Anyways, it's infinitely easier with seal twisting. Drakova has a number of videos on the subject. I even do it personally with seal twisting. Very, very rarely do I ever use it because I never have Seal of Command, right? So seal twisting for me just isn't really a thing. I tested recently with a macro. You'll notice I only have one macro. Yeah, we're still recording. Where the hell is my macros? No, there should be a button here for macros. That is your map, homie. Macros. Okay. I've only got one macro. And the macro is me seal twisting command with righteousness. And my theoretical theory was I could seal twist rank 3 Seal of Righteousness and then seal a command on the target like repeatedly, right? You could just spam the macro basically. So if I go over here and I go like macros, seal twist, get the seal twist macro in there. If I got the timing right, I could just spam it like on cooldown, and I would get the effects of both of them. But the timing, I'm not very good at the timing. All right, ready? Attack. Twist, 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 twist. Right, so in theory, I could just spam this macro because there's a 1.5 second GCD. But clearly I got the timing off. I don't really know what's going on here. The problem with that is that it's so super mana intensive, and the proc rate of Seal of Command is just too low to effectively do that, if that makes any sense. And I showed this in a previous video, but Minnow was nice enough to send me this, which talks about the proc rate of Seal of Command at certain weapon speeds. This was for two-handed, though. You notice it doesn't even go down to 1.5 second weapon speed. And the proc rate of Seal of Command, at 1.5 second weapon speed is virtually non-existent. Like, it is really bad. I think it might be like 10% or something like that. It's pretty horrifying. So I'm going to let the seal run out. We're going to count the procs. We got one proc. Yep. Waiting for another proc. Waiting for another proc. Where are we at? Uh-huh. open the combat log. You can see we don't, okay, got another proc. And our seal's about to run out. And yeah. And Flurry Axe even proc there into Oblivion. I think I got like 4 attacks with Flurry Axe or something like that. It's just awful. So I tested it, and I was like, geez. I was hoping it would have like the same a proc chance at being faster, blah, 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 blah. So it just didn't end up working out. You can, in theory, and this is what I tested back in the day, you could twist rank 3 SOR with rank 1 Seal the Crusader, and that would work on weapon speeds, I think, of like 2.2 or 2.1 or 2.4 or something like that. Like I got this 2.5 here, and if I activate Crusader, you'll see that the weapon speed goes down to 1.79. But I tested that theoretically, but there just weren't any good it works, but there weren't any good weapons in that category, and it's just too mana intensive. So seal twisting is just something that I just end up never doing because I'm a Holy Reckoning Paladin and I just don't have that kind of stuff. But it is theoretical to do, and it's worth talking about with Seal of Justice, right? Because Seal of Justice twisting to stun people to stop them from healing is a thing. It's also really good to do in Wreck Bombs. I guess that's something you got to talk about with a Wreck Bomb. This is all PvP discussion at this point, unfortunately. PvP, it can proc multiple times in a Wreck Bomb, and how that'll look is it suffers from DR. So if it procs like 3 times in a Wreck Bomb, the target's only going to be stunned for like a half a second at most, if that makes sense. So when you seal twist Justice in a Wreck Bomb, it becomes very clear how many times it actually procced in the Wreck Bomb, because the target will be stunned for 2 seconds, 1 second, or a half a second, or it'll just if it procced way too much, it'll just say like immune all of a sudden, right? You're like, oh shit. But it's on its separate cooldown and separate DC DR, and that is something definitely worth noting. All right, back. All right, what's the next thing on our list? We're almost done here, right? Yeah. I think we're yeah. Okay, Shadow Aura, doesn't matter. Okay, we're finally in the ret tree. This shouldn't take too much longer, considering that Blessing of Might does what it says in the tin. I mean, that's all you got going on. The only thing to say about it in PvP, or nothing to say in PvE, the only thing to say about it in PvP is before you Wreck Bomb somebody, put Blessing of Might up. I'm actually really bad. At this. I don't do that a lot. I don't do that a lot because, if I recall correctly, I need the GCDs for other things. So, for example, when I Wreck Bomb someone, I'm using rank 8, and then I have to seal twist over and get Crusader on the target as quickly as possible, and then get into rank 3 Seal of Righteousness as quickly as possible, while swapping to a one-handed weapon as quickly as possible. And I usually just don't have the GCD to screw around with Blessing of Might under a lot of circumstances, just because I'm usually mounted and jumping off of the mount to Wreck Bomb somebody, like that sort of a thing. But if you have the space and the time to get Blessing of Might up in your Wreck Bomb, you should definitely do it. That's really all there is to it. Judgment basically does what it says in the tin. It uses melee hit. So sometimes you'll judge damage on something and it'll say resist. But actually that is you missing the judgment due to melee hit. That is a melee hit miss. That's not actually a resist. So, for example, my Holy Reckoning Paladin usually does not hit cap. So he's got something silly like a 2% miss chance. And once in a blue moon, when I judge on something, it'll just say resist. That is not a resist. That is entirely mischance. Ret Aura does what it says in the tin. Nothing affects it or anything like that. Seal of Command. We kind of already talked about Seal of Command, but we can do it again. 30% spell power ratio, regardless of weapon speed. There's the minnow thing here, which basically shows us that whether you're using a slow, whether you're using a fast two-hander or a slow two-hander, it doesn't really matter. People are always like, yeah, Seal of Command, get the slowest weapon possible. But as you can see here by the proc rates, that's actually not true. I'm not sure why like 2.3 or something isn't here. For hardcore, this is super important because the slower weapons will get you killed. Like he'll be dodge parry. You'll have less damage consistency, and the next thing you know, when you fight a mob, it'll be like dodge, miss, miss, parry, dodge, and you're just like, oh my god. And you're better off using the slower weapons. Yeah. So the only other thing to talk about Seal of Command is the Seal of Command proc does count as an additional auto attack, and you'll often hear people use the phrase Seal of Casino, but that's more of a PvP phrase than an actual PvE phrase, because you can wear different gear in PvE and really lean into avoiding Seal of Casino. But basically what it means is that first you have to hit your target with a white attack, and then Seal of Command means you have to run the gambit of, like, dodge, parry. Is there anything else? Hopefully you don't have to run the mischance gambit. So dodge and parry, right? And then if Seal of Command does proc, Seal of Command also has to run the gambit of dodge and parry. So it's basically mitigation is doubled up on Seal of Command. Mitigation is not doubled up on Seal of Righteousness. If you hit the target, Seal of Righteousness just comes along for the ride. There is some advantage to Seal of Command, however, because it does count as an extra auto attack, which means it can proc that extra auto attack can proc anything and everything in the game. If you recall, when I talked about Seal of Righteousness can only proc certain things. It'll only ×2 on certain things. Seal of Command will ×2 everything in its dog. All right. The only other thing to talk about Seal of Command is that it does have an internal cooldown. So if you wreck bomb someone and you're wondering why you're only getting one Seal of Command proc, that is why. It actually has a tiny, like 0.2 second internal cooldown. So even multiple Flurry Axe, if I run up to somebody and I hit them with Flurry Axe, and Flurry Axe goes off like 7 times, like I've seen it do sometimes, because it'll proc extra procs that proc extra procs that proc extra procs. Seal of Command won't, as near as I can tell, won't come along for that ride. But it has such a low proc chance that I honestly couldn't tell you if it comes along for the ride or not, or if the internal cooldown screws it over. Couldn't tell you. But I know it doesn't work in wreck bombs. All right, Seal of the Crusader. It says it increases your attack speed by 40%. It doesn't actually increase your DPS at all. So, for example, if you had 100, if you were doing 100 damage, if you were doing 100 DPS, and you put on like rank 1 Seal of the Crusader, why does it say 95? Holy crap, that's so much. Right, so the attack power gains are actual gains. Like you actually do this extra 429 attack power on Seal of Crusader. That is a legitimate power damage increase. But the 40% is just, it's nothing. It's a red herring, basically. There's no damage increase for you attacking faster whatsoever. The only thing that it really does for you as a paladin is you get like better pushback, and you can proc oils more, you can proc judgments more. I mean, seals and stuff more. It doesn't actually do anything. All right, so the very last things to talk about for paladin is gear. You'll notice that this is me talk about all the spells video, and now I'm actually talking about gear. And this is one of the things that is very unique to Paladin. Not super unique to Paladin, but it is what it is. So, Hikari Manslayer. Hikari Manslayer has a 100% spell power ratio behind its proc. It does ×2 with SOR. So, and it's got like a 5% chance to proc. So you'll see as I'm hitting this guy, each hit, there's a 10% chance that Manslayer procs, and when Manslayer procs, it's going to proc for like 350, 400, or something like that. Edward the Odd is another one. It does, Jesus, Manslayer, what the hell, thank you. Other things to note about Manslayer, about the lifesteal on Manslayer, is that it ignores Mortal Strike. Lifestealing basically ignores healing debuffs and stuff, and it literally heals you for however much damage it did. So if it procs on like a shield walling warrior, you'll heal for like 50. But it can also crit too. When it crits, I think it does ×2 crits. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure what it's if it's using melee crit or spell crit or whatever the heck it is. So that's cool. Other things to talk about are Lifesteal also does ×2 proc, and it can crit, but it's only a 50% bonus to crit. They can proc Vengeance and stuff like that. Let's talk about other weapons that do crazy things. Edward the Odd is about it's like a 2.6 or 2.7 proc chance per hit, but it does ×2 with SOR. So each of these hits that I'm doing with this thing have a little over a 5% chance to proc. And when it procs, you'll get like this aura around you that lets you instantly cast spells. On average, it procs once every 30 seconds, which is why I'm letting the seal completely run out. That'll let me know how lucky or unlucky I've been with Edward the Odd. So right now we've been pretty unlucky with Edward the Odd. Let's reseal up. There we go. Boom. Instantly heal. Holy Light. No big deal. Boom. Another Holy Light. Sweet. All right, go away. I'm tired of talking to you. Flurry Axe procs are it's about 7.5% per auto attack, and it does double up. These are just my figures. You can actually look them up online, I think, and they have far more accurate numbers these days. But Flurry Axe has like basically it's a 15% chance per hit to proc an extra auto attack with Seal of Righteousness. And the extra attacks can also proc extra attacks, so sometimes you'll just hit somebody and you'll get like 5 or 6 procs in a row. It's kind of ridiculous. It does happen. It's pretty rare. I think the most I've ever seen is like 8, but then the thing died at the same time. So I was like, all right, well, that's the most I've ever seen. Really terrifying with Seal of Righteousness rank 3, as you can see. What else is there to talk about? Ebon Hand is a little garbage. I think it's only got like a 3% chance to proc. I spent a shit ton of gold in this thing per hit. So each hit with SOR is like a 6% chance to proc. Nothing much to really talk about there. Skull Flame Shield. Skull Flame Shield has a 100% spell power ratio behind it for the... yeah, that was it right there. That was Skull Flame Shield. If I look at my combat... Okay, let's stop attacking. Stop. Let's go look at my combat log here real fast. My actions... Yeah, Skull Flame Shield Life Drain just healed me for... it did 288 damage, and it healed me for 288. Again, that's also a life steal, so ignores Mortal Strike and stuff. Skull Flame Shield, the proc on it has a 100% spell power ratio. So the AoE thing has no spell power ratio behind it. But Skull Flame Shield is usually considered to be the best AoE tanking weapon in the entire game. What else is there to talk about that is interesting? Demon Forged Breastplate. I gotta take the Skull Flame Shield off for this. Demon Forged Breastplate has a... Do we have the breastplate on? I think, yeah, I do. It's got a 60% spell power ratio, which isn't all that amazing. But it has a whopping... let me get on some better gear here for spell power ratio testing. Pants need to come off, and rings need to go on. Okay, so now we're getting out of the PvP gear, and we're getting more into like some spell power stuff. So hopefully Demon Forge Breastplate will proc sometime soon. When it does proc, it'll make the target like green, so it's pretty obvious that it actually did proc. Okay, we're gonna run in here like a madman, and we're gonna see 3 mobs should be plenty to see if this thing procs. And we don't want to face, we want to face away from them, so we're not dodging and parrying or anything. But it'll turn green on the mob, and Demon Forge Breastplate will do its thing. Yeah. All right. So that's another thing to talk about as far as like spell power ratio and stuff goes. Damn, it's Oh, the other thing about Skull Flame Shield is you actually have to be facing the target in order for Skull Flame Shield to work. But Demon Forge Breastplate, if I recall correctly, you don't actually have to be facing the target in order for it to go off. But that might be a lie from what I'm looking at here. Holy crap, proc already. Boop. All right. We'll see if I actually have to be facing the damn thing in order for it to proc. Jesus. What else is there to talk about? Yeah, we got to talk about oils. So I guess I should get into a flurry axe, and I should put on one of my mighty frost oils. I cannot believe that this damn Demon Forge breastplate has not procced yet. What in the flying F? So I guess I got really lucky with the Skull Flame shield, and I get really unlucky with the Demon Forge breastplate. Like, what the hell? Yeah, the oils are like they times 2 proc with Seal of Righteousness. They've got certain spell. The frost oil is like 30% base damage, and then it's like 28% spell power ratio. That's not very good. Okay, there's Demon Forge breastplate. There it goes. Thank you. Only took 1,000,000 years. Jesus. Frost oil procs have like a 28% spell power ratio behind them, I think. They also have no internal CD, whereas Shadow Oil does. Shadow Oil's got a 10-second internal CD, despite the fact that there's no evidence of it having an internal CD in original Classic World of Warcraft, which is really sad. It's also kind of necessary to have an internal CD because it's got a whopping, and I mean holy fuck, whopping like 60% spell power ratio behind it. So 15% proc chance, 16% spell power ratio behind it. I also don't think it times 2s with SOR, but I really need to test it, or I need to go watch my video where I soloed Scarlet Monastery. I used it for a little bit while soloing Scarlet Monastery on Test Pally. I'll have to go watch my video to see if it has a times 2 proc rate. Really hard to tell with the internal CD, right? But 10-second internal CD on Shadow Oil. Let's just watch some Frost Oil go off here for a second. I'll not have the SOR, so it's a little bit more. Yeah, there's Flurry Axe proccing like 5 times. Okay, boom, 115. We'll just kill this guy with Seal of the Crusader, so we can watch some Frost Oil procs go off. Only 10% proc chance currently at the 40% increased attack speed, but you can see it definitely has some spell power ratio behind it, so that's kind of cool. The only almost nothing else in the game other than the things that I just talked about actually have spell power ratio behind it, or are really worthy of talking about in terms like this. 6 Demon Bag does have spell power ratio behind it. But you can't use it in conjunction with like a Hero's Charm or anything like that, which is kind of sad. But we'll 6 Demon Bag this guy here so you can see what's up. There's one other thing I want to talk about. Can't remember. I think it's the Breastplate. No, it's nothing going on there. It does what it says in the tin. Mug of Hurt is PvE only, or PvP only. Druids can't get out of the Mug of Hurt. Oh, the other thing about Blessing and Protection that I forgot is that it removes all physical things, if that makes any sense, which can be really useful. Not so much in PvE, but super, super useful in PvP. All right, we're going to 6 Demon Bag here a second. That's Frost Oil. 6 Demon Bag. Do the thing. What the? Okay, so that's a Frost Oil from 6 Demon Bag. You can see it definitely has spell power ratio behind it, if you didn't know. Normally it would hit for like 100, but then, you know, I've got spell power, so you do the math. Thank you, Frost Oil. What else is there to say? There was one other thing to say. I can't remember, talking about spell power stuff. It wasn't 6 Demon Bag, but it was something else. Oh, Jeklicks. Ugh. All right, so let's say you are like me and you do not have a good wreck bombing weapon. You are a super unlucky human being. Why can't I find my stuff? My good stuff is usually around. There's Jeklicks. Okay, cool. Jeklicks is probably, it's like the poor man's wreck bomb. He's the poor man's wreck bomber, and the reason for this is because Jeklicks, this weapon proc here is subject to armor, which kind of sucks, but the proc chance on this thing is ridiculous. It has a 20% chance to proc, and it does times 2 with SOR, meaning that if you don't have a very good two-handed weapon, like I never, ever, ever got my hands on a good two-handed weapon, the best two-handed weapon that I ever saw drop was Untamed Blade. And I only ever saw it once, and it's not super good, right? And I saw it once, and I saw it early on, and I was just, that's it. So I just never got a good two-handed weapon. If you're like fresh to Era as a Paladin or something, you get this weapon super easy from ZG, super easy to pick up at Jecklix. It's actually one of the better wreck bombing weapons in the game because it does ×2 with SOR. Am I being a good boy or a bad boy right now? Let's turn on the sound here. System. Interface options. No, it's system, yeah. System, and it's like audio, right? What the hell? Where the hell's audio, boys? Yeah, sound. I just have it. It's just sound. I'm just stupid. Okay. All right. So it's easier to tell Jecklix proccing because you can hear it. It'll make like the blood sound when it goes off. Mishi's attacks has... Oh, Jesus. I still have this piece of crap on. All right, whatever. Demon Forge. It'll make... each of these attacks has a 40% chance to proc Jecklix. And it can proc it like twice per hit. Yeah, there we go. Thank God. And what's cool about that is you can run up and you can wreck bomb somebody. And mathematically, on average, it'll be like, you know, you'll get like 2 Jecklix procs. But but it's also a possibility that it high rolls and you get like 5 or 6 Jecklix procs. It can go up to like, you know, if every hit you did procced, it would do 10 Jecklix procs. So this is like the poor man's wreck bomb alternative, just for the record. There's almost nothing else to talk about with Paladin, believe it or not. At least as far as PvE and stuff is concerned. This is more of a PvP quality of life type thing, like you actually need to kill somebody kind of a thing. So I guess I'll just end the video here and Deus Vult, boys? I'm trying to think. I think is there anything else? Summons are interesting. All right, yeah, let's talk about summons real fast. Let's get a Defender of the Timbermaw here. That at least we have like a double summons. This is more of a PvP statement. Goblin Bomb Dispenser is the only burst trinket that you can use in conjunction with any other burst trinket in the game. If you try to go double burst trinket, what'll end up happening is they all share a CD so that you can't double up on them. However, Goblin Bomb Dispenser is a very special boy by comparison. He also is a summon, believe it or not. So you can actually summon Goblin Bomb Dispenser and then mount up. And I think it also puts the other summons on CD. And I could be wrong about that. The only other thing I probably should talk about is Gnomish Netomatic while we wait. Gnomish Netomatic has some weird features to it. It has a 60% chance to do what it's supposed to do, and then it has two main fails. One is that it roots you and it doesn't root the enemy. The other one is that it roots you, but it also drags you to the target and then roots you to the target as well. Let's do this bomb dispenser thing real fast here. Nope, it doesn't put them on cooldown. You can see that I can mount... Oh, Jesus. Don't do it. Thank you. You can see that I can mount up, and he'll actually come with me. And I can do weird shit. I could even switch out my trinkets, but I can do weird shit like, yeah, it won't go off until I get off, but then it goes off. Yeah, and you can also pair that with other burst trinkets and stuff like that. We're talking Gnomish Netomatic here for a second. So Gnomish Netomatic has... Go away. Go away or die. No. You're at your leash range, homie. This is your leash range. What are we doing? What? Did I piss you off too much? Is that what's going on here? What in the fuck? Every once in a blue moon, World of Warcraft aggro makes no sense to me. Holy crap, go away. Okay. Gnomish Netomatic, actually did the math on it. I tested it like 100 times. 60% chance it does its damn job. 20% of the time, it will suck you to the target and root you both in place, which as a paladin is a huge bonus. Not a negative at all. But it's important to know that if you're facing away from the target and you use Netomatic, rather than sucking you to the target and rooting you in place, it'll just root you in place. So if you're facing away from the target when you use Netomatic, there's a 60% chance that it works, and there will be a 40% chance that it roots you in place. That's how it works, okay? So you actually have to be facing the target in order to get the effective, the 20% chance that you charge in at the target. I'll use it on this mob, and we'll just hope that it happens to suck him in place. Nope. Okay, cool. But let's talk summons here for a second. Okay, cool. So you'll notice that if I use a Book of the Dead, this mob will come out and it'll start attacking him. Okay, cool. And this mob actually does quite a bit of damage. He can be healed. We can put Blessing of Might on him. But I don't think Blessing of Might actually increases his damage. Okay, it does increase his DPS. We can also put Blessing of Sacrifice on him. That is a big PvP thing, to put Blessing of Sacrifice on him. Sometimes I'll put Blessing of Freedom on him. Because, you know, Blessing of Freedom. Homie here has a shit ton of HP. Believe it or not. I think it's like 4,000 HP or some crap. It's actually kind of ridiculous. But you'll notice that I can't have more than one summon out at a time with him. So, for example, it put as soon as this cooldown on Defender of the Timbermaw wears off, our pet will despawn. I'll just do Timbermaw real fast here. Timbermaw has way less HP, but he does way more damage. Alright, one sec. I'm going to need aggro on this guy just because... Alright, I don't want too much aggro because I eventually want him to... He's going to die before he attacks, isn't he? Alright, we need to get another... I want to show you how little HP Defender of the Timbermaw has. The only problem with Defender of the Timbermaw is he doesn't really attack things unless they're attacking you. Come on, hit him. Yeah, you can see how he doesn't have any HP. You can heal him, though. Yeah, he's got like 500, 600 HP. It's actually kind of terrible. But he does an absolute shit ton of damage, which is kind of cool. What is there to say about the summons? Oh, right. So, there are 2 skeleton summoning books. One of them is really easy to get. One of them is significantly harder to get. Because I have the weirdest luck known to man, I have the book that is the harder one to get. You get it from the final boss in Scarlet Monastery, not Scarlet Monastery, Strat Live. Okay, the final boss in Strat Live is where Book of the Dead comes from. The other skeletal summoning book is a pretty easy drop that most people have off of Onyxia. Now, I don't know, but if I had better luck, I could definitely test it. But people who have both books tell me that you can summon one skeleton, and then after a minute later, you can summon the other skeleton. There's another thing that you can do, which you just have to take my word for, is that you can summon the skeleton using the book and immediately switch back into a shield, and the skeleton will stay in play, if that makes any sense. Other summons you can't really do that for. Like you can't summon Timbermaw and switch over. I don't think so. And then switch over to another trinket. This is more PvP stuff, but this is also kind of PvE as well. It should be noted that if you are really trying to... If you're trying to parse as a paladin in raids, you're going to be using the summons a lot. So Timbermaw will be a thing. Bull Skeleton summons will be a thing for you. Arcanite, Dragonite, Ling is not bad. Gnomish Battle Chicken, even though it shouldn't seem like it should, does Giga Chad levels of damage. I think the Arcanite Dragonling also does absolute tons of damage. I don't use them at all because I'm a PvPer, and the Arcanite Dragonling I think has a considerable amount of HP. I don't think you can heal it. But the Gnomish Battle Chicken is probably the highest damaging summon that you could possibly have in the game. It just has no HP behind it, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, there isn't anything else I really have to talk about. The summoning stuff is very interesting, though, obviously. Major Recombobulator Ray, I've talked about this before, has a 100% spell power ratio behind it, including the plus healing stuff. The problem with Major Recombobulator Ray No, you cannot use it on yourself to remove the effects of polymorph, but you can use it on other people to remove polymorph, which is very useful if you don't have clans, but we're paladins, so we have clans. Also, technically, you could use it while you're silenced, which may or may not be applicable, but that's more of a PvP thing. It shares cooldown with Whipper Root and Dragon Fruit. So you can see I have Whipper Root and Dragon Fruit here, right? And of course, I got them on my bars because I'm not stupid. Watch me use Major Recombobulator right here real fast. Let me get my mana a little low. Let me get my health a little low so we can actually see the effects. Whee! Boom. Ow. Alright, mana low, health low. Don't have a lot of spell power, but we got some spell power, plus healing stuff here, and let's ray. Yeah, so you can see that 800 is way more than the 625 as advertised on Recombobulator Ray. It gets plus 100% from bonus healing effects, basically. But you can see that my Whipper Root Tuber and my Dragon Fruit are now on cooldown. So it shares cooldown with that. Basically, what this means is that it's a really good trinket to use in duels, because usually in duels, Dragon Fruit and Whipper Root Tuber are banned. Yeah. The only last thing I can think of to really talk about is, that's even remotely important, but this is more of a PvP thing, and we'll end the video there, is Wild Blossom Berries. You also get these in Fellwood. You get all three of these things in Fellwood. Is the Wild Blossom Berries. So I'm going to set my character to auto run, and I'm going to go auto run over to the Alterac Valley area. And I want you to watch the top of my screen over here as I get a food buff. Now, you can't do this in combat because you can't eat and drink in combat, right? But I want you to watch me get this food buff without even breaking stride or having to sit down or anything. Are you ready for this? Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Boom, I have plus 10 stamina on my character. Didn't even break my stride. Why is this an important thing? It's more important for PvP. This is not a PvE thing. But it's a food buff that you can get at all times. You can get it before duels start. You can get it after you die in Warsong Gulch. You can macro it to your mount up. So you can have like a normal mount and like a shift mount. And you can just, after you die, you like shift mount, and it will automatically give you the 10 stamina buff as long as you have Wild Blossom Berries. Super easy to get in Fellwood. You can stack up on them a bunch. It's basically just plus 100. Basically, it's a way for us paladins to get our food buff very consistently, especially under adverse conditions. So, for example, if you're in a fight, if you don't know, it's 6 seconds. That's the timer for being out of combat in PvP. I think it's 10 seconds for PvE, but I know it's 6 seconds for PvP. So let's kill this mob real fast here, and I'll show you what I mean. So when I kill this mob, I'm still going to be in combat for like 10 seconds after the mob dies. Am I in combat? No, I guess I went out of combat immediately. That sucks. So I guess I can't really test it unless I want to go and test it. Okay, let's go test it on our poor little Patsy here. All right, so I want you to watch this for a second. So I'm going to run up. I'm going to stun our boy here. Hopefully his pet doesn't attack us. Okay, here's a better one. What the hell? He's going to die here because of me, isn't it? All right, so let's see how long until I can mount again. You can just watch the video. Boom, I can mount, right? So what this means is that it's pretty easy in a lot of combat scenarios for you to actually get your food buff even while jumped in combat. But more importantly, there's a thing that exists that's a neck piece. It's a ZG trinket that increases the length of your Hammer of Justice stun by 0.5 seconds. It's pretty good. It's got stats and stuff. It's like the Freethinker's neck piece or something. And that extra 0.5 seconds of time on your stun is enough time that you can actually stun people I tested it with Drakova. You can stun somebody, get off 2 holy lights, and gear swap in their face in PvP before they can get off a counterspell or anything like that, right? Now, while that sounds amazing, while it does sound amazing that we have access to the ability to stun somebody for 6.5 seconds and to gear swap or trinket swap on their in their face, basically, and that's a unique ability for us as paladins, there wasn't really a place where it became applicable. So if you think about all the PvP matchups, it's just, it's like, wow, that's amazing. I wonder where I would use that. And the answer is you can't really use it anywhere. But it is a thing to worth keeping in mind that there is a trinket out, a neck piece out there with pretty good stats that allows us paladins to stun targets, heal to full, and gear swap even under PvP conditions. But anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and day is full, boys.